Welcome back to a brand new chapter. Now, I hope you learned a lot and had a good time doing the promo chapter of this course. And we're continuing to get more into the refining, more of the subtleties, and more of the professional side of video editing. So, in this chapter, what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be doing more of a professional style. We're not going to do all the flashy swoosh transitions and that stuff, but we're going to get more into what it takes to create a much more seamless, clean, and professional video for you in the future when you might be doing client work, you might be doing a video for a product, and you don't want to have all of the stuff. You want to make a much more classy and a much more grounded and well-rounded overall video that has a much more professional feeling. So let's get into it. So in this chapter, you're going to follow along with me and you can either edit past footage that you already have, or you can download the footage, which is going to be a high-end real estate walkthrough. This is like a 10 or 20 million dollar property. So I'm really excited to edit this along with you. And I want you to gather either your own footage that resembles kind of something similar. It doesn't have to be real estate. It doesn't have to be house. It doesn't have to be more of a destination, location, travel style. It can be really good B-roll that you may already have of a product or an object or something. So if you have that footage, awesome. If you don't have that footage, download the assets in the folder that I've provided, and you can go ahead and start by creating your initial rough edit. Just like in the last lecture, I'm not going to be going through those beginning processes that we've already completed together in previous chapters, in many previous chapters. I'm going to hop right into going from right where I already have all the selects pulled. I've already organized everything. So if you have questions about that process, you can go to the previous chapters. I believe chapters 2 through 4, 2, 3, and 4, possibly even 5. Don't quote me on that, but we already go through the organization, categorizing process. So we're going to go over in this chapter shot arrangement, editing down our music, doing some custom transitions, working with split screens, coloring and refining our footage to get that professional looking polish. At the end of the chapter, you can export and share the video that you created alongside with me in the student Q&A and get feedback from myself and other students. And like I mentioned, these are techniques that you'll be able to use for any kind of showcase video. It doesn't have to be real estate with a big mansion. It can be a product video for, your friend's coffee brand. It can be a product video for an app. And if you have good B-roll footage, all these techniques will work for that. But we're going to just dive into the professional side of how to upgrade good looking B-roll and make it look just that much better. So I will see you in the next video lesson where we will dive into these new techniques. Okay, perfect. So let's dive right into the screen cap and let's get into this edit. So here we go. We have our main sequence, and as you can see, I've already pulled the selects. So if you're choosing to download the footage and work alongside with me, your footage is going to be labeled like this: bathroom, bedrooms, day to night transition, exterior, kitchen, dining room, etc. So you're going to get MOV files that have all these super epic Steadicam, smooth kind of dolly style of shots. So bring those into your editing software, pull your selects, and I would assume that if you've been following the course, you're going to want to use a similar strategy to really organize and categorize your B-roll. So right now I have about 2 minutes of selects in my timeline, and I just went through and I labeled the tan shots are these intro kind of exterior shots. The blue shots, we go into the house. These kind of pink magenta shots are the bathrooms and bedrooms. Yellow shots are the pool in the backyard. Oh God, that looks so nice. I want to be there. So, and then the blue shots are kind of these nighttime shots. And we're going to do a really cool day to night transition between these two shots. But what I want to share in this video lesson specifically is that when you're dealing with a project where you have a lot of beautiful B-roll and you're going to edit it to a soundtrack and make a montage that's a showcase of some kind, even if you haven't shot the footage or the footage you're working with hasn't been shot with a story that's being told, you have to kind of use your ninja skills and really work the story into the footage by organizing it in a way that makes the most sense. And I want to explain that by showing you that in this timeline, if we zoom in here, we have this first shot. It's shot 7,609. Or no, excuse me. There's 7,069 and 7,068. So these were shot way later than 7,029, 7,031. I hope you could see these numbers. They're a little bit small, but we have 7,031, 37, 51. So what I'm explaining is that these were shot like this one was shot first, and then I shot this one, and I shot this one, and I shot this one. And then in this post production phase of pulling selects, I pulled and moved things around where I don't have to necessarily put the edit together in the order that I shot the footage. Why? Because I want to rearrange things to tell a better story. So if I put this in the order of the way I shot it, you know, these shots would have been first, and then we would have had the entrance to the house. We would have gone into the house, right? Like this and so on. So that might be obvious, it may not. You know, you don't want to be bound by what happened on the filming day. You want to take what happened on the filming day, rearrange it, remix it, edit it, and that's going to help you create a better story. So the story that we're telling here is basically the vision or the view that a customer or a client would have for experiencing this specific showcase or this specific product, which is this high-end real estate property. So they go into the house, they experience the living spaces, the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, and then we go upstairs, right? We're showing them where they're going in this process. They see the bedrooms, the bathrooms, and then they kind of see the vacation space, the beautiful backyard. And then we transition into nighttime. And we have these nighttime shots so they would experience what it's like, you know, living out this space and then ending on this really cool chandelier shot. And that just simple kind of reorganizing of the footage just helps to further tell a story. So I want you to really keep that in mind for your edits and specifically for footage that you have where there's no storyline, there's no dialogue or script, or there's no beginning, middle, and end initially of this footage that you have, you can use your ninja skills to remix that footage and create something that tells a better story. I think I repeated that a few times, but I really want to get this point across because it's an incredibly important nuance and subtlety that some editors understand and some editors don't. So I hope that helps you, and I will see you in the next learning lesson. Next up, what I want to talk about is music choice. Now, we've touched on music choice a few times in this journey together inside this course, but it's something that I like to revisit as much as possible because it's honestly one of the biggest, I don't want to say mistake, but it's one of the biggest missed opportunities, a mistake when you miss taking something, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the biggest missed opportunities that I see in a lot of videos that people send me, that people share with me, that I see online is a mismatch between the visuals and the music choice. So, song choice, it's everything, okay? It's everything. It's just as important as the footage. sitting here, I'm watching these beautiful shots, and I'm sitting here and I'm listening to whatever the editor is choosing I should listen to. And it's another level of subtlety that you understand or you don't. But if you don't know what song, then it's really good to practice and to visualize and to really absorb with the footage that you have and, intuitively feel. So it's another level of subtlety that this is why I like to revisit it again and again to really lock in this thought process and this way of creating better looking videos because you're choosing better sounding audio to go with that. So I didn't even choose, I just grabbed a few kind of random songs. So let's actually first just take a quick, brief look through our content. I'm just going to hit play and I'm going to kind of skip around. So this is slow, moving, classic, uh, professional, clean, modern. Not a whole lot of emotion that we need to provoke or create in a music track. We want it to be calm, relaxing, but engaging. And we don't want it to sound like stock footage music. We're not going to go in the hip hop, more beats genre. We're not going to go in the more electronic, techno, electronic house or future based genre. We want to find a good middle ground that a 20-year-old could listen to and a 40-year-old could listen to and a 60-year-old because especially for a video that we're creating for a client, we want to have in mind if it isn't already discussed up front with the person you're working with, here's the target audience. That's always a good thing to know, but especially for a client vision and video where you need to lock in something that's going to sell something, you want to keep the end user, the viewer, the person who's the customer in mind. Now, there's not going to be any like 18-year-old, millennial Gen X, Gen Z person that's going to buy one of these properties. So I'm not going to pick a track like that I would just hear on a Spotify playlist. I want something a little bit more mature. So let's go ahead and just kind of breeze through these tracks here. And I like to bring it into Premiere so I can actually see the waveform. Yeah. So we have our intro right here. Not bad. Okay, I'm going to skip forward. Right here is going to be where the beat comes in. Not bad. I like that one. It's got a little bit of a French vibe. We don't want to get too much on the bossa nova kind of style. We kind of want a track that's almost has enough personality to keep someone interested, but doesn't go too far into bossa nova or rock or hip hop because then, it can kind of become a distraction for a video like this. Okay, that's too young sounding, so I'm just gonna label this brown. We're not gonna use that. Okay. Well, it definitely has the slow, smooth, relaxing vibe, but I'm not quite into it. So if it's a maybe, you can label it something else. Let's go mango. Okay, just with those first two sounds, I can already tell. No, too. millennially. Super cool song, but this is more of a music festival recap video. That's not what we're doing here. So we'll label that brown. Okay. And see if you can imagine the footage when you listen to your track that you're possibly going to use. Okay, I like the smoothness of this one, definitely. So let's label this magenta. And I would say it's between the first and last track. So what I'm gonna actually do is I'm gonna go ahead and drag in both of these tracks. Okay. And then I'm gonna mute one of them and I'm gonna lock off our video layer so nothing accidentally happens to our selects in our timeline. And I'm just gonna do a run through and just hit play and see which of these tracks better fits the footage. And I really like choosing 2 to 3 and dropping it in the timeline and just getting a view and seeing, because one that you're like, yeah, that's it. And once you drop it in, you see with the footage, it could change that the second choice that you had actually fits the footage better. So let's check it out. And I'm gonna skip forward here. Not bad. Not bad. Let's see the second option. Okay. And I'm gonna skip forward. Okay, I mean, honestly, both of those sound really good. Honestly, the second track for my ear goes a little bit into the stock music sound, just slightly. It doesn't have that really annoying fully stock sound that tracks have, but it kind of does almost get over there. But and I really like this first one because it's got a lot of character. But with the final viewer and the final consumer in mind for this kind of project specifically, I'm gonna have to go with the second track because this first one is kind of Spanish, or it has a bossa nova vibe. It's a little bit more fun and playful. I think that the more classical and piano sound that has a little bit more of that um, personality that I would imagine the consumer vibing with more, I'm gonna go with the second track in this scenario. If the viewer was gonna be younger and it was a more of a fun video, boom, we drop in this first track. So let's drop in this second track, and then I'm gonna line up the visuals to sync up with this music choice that we just did together.